That's right. Now, I think... And do we have... All right. Okay. Is Kelly sick?
She's sick.
She shall be excused. Oh, and
Lydia's gone.
Lydia's gone, so we have a quorum.
And Mark
I'm
called-
sick.
Mark called and he was hoping to fly back in time, but he was still in San Jose.
Okay. And Deanie's so far away, does it count that? Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I got it. Okay. All right. Welcome to the September 29th special Federal Way City Council meeting. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you and welcome. Now, we've got a couple of announcements and excusings to do. We'll just go right down the line. Councilmember Assefa Dawson is out of town and excused. Councilmember Kelly Maloney is ill today. Something that just came up today, and she's just not feeling well. I'm sure she's watching at home, but maybe. But she's just not feeling well. And we also have Councilmember Kopeng, who's out of town unavoidably on business. We do have a quorum, and we're ready to proceed. We had a great round of presentations yesterday. Yesterday we heard from our police chief and the police department, economic development, human resources, the city clerk's office, and the mayor's office. All of them did a great job. Thank you very much. Today's department presentations will be focused on Public Works Department, Community Development Department, Parks Department, City Attorney's Office, and the Municipal Court. And then just as a preview for everybody, on Tuesday, October 4th, before our next City Council meeting, we'll have department presentations from Teresa Yvonne in the Performing Arts and Event Center, City Council, Finance Department, Information Technology, or the IT Department, and a community program request, or program request out of the community, from the community. And then we'll have council deliberations, and they'll start at that time. So with that, thank you again, and we'll have Marwan Saloom, our Public Works Director, kick us off.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbridge, and member of the council and citizen. Tonight I'll be presenting to you the 2017-2018 proposed biennial budget for the Public Works Department. What I'd like to do when I start is introduce our Public Work team. I'm going to have E.J. Walsh as Deputy Public Work Director and Special Project Manager. He's managing the PAC project at the present time, and hopefully we are looking for completion in 2017, summer 2017. We have Desiree Winkle, that our Deputy Public Work Director, Street System Manager, that joined us earlier this year. Rob Van Orsel, our solid waste and recycling. He's been with us for 22 years and doing an excellent job at it. We have Teresa Thurlow as our service water manager, and Teresa has been with us for about 2 years right now. And we have Colt Elliott that recently joined the City of Federal Way, and he's the Development Service Manager. And we have Rick Perez. We just celebrated his 20th years with the city this week, and he's our city traffic engineer. The Public Works Department have 44 full-time employees working for us. Public Works Department administers two types of fund. We have the street fund and the special revenue enterprise fund. Under the street fund, we have the administration of the Public Works Department, we have the street division, the traffic division, the development services, and fleet and equipment that is non-police. For the special revenue and enterprise fund, we have the solid waste and recycling, and we have the surface water management. I'm going to start with the street fund. Some of the accomplishment of the department under the street fund, we have submitted and awarded $14.3 million in grant funding in 2015-2016 for our different transportation projects. Staff have completed in 2015 $15.8 million worth of capital improvement project, and I'm going to go through the list of those projects. You have the South 304th Street at 28th Avenue intersection improvement. You have the 328th Street at First Avenue intersection improvement. You have the two preservation project that at 324th and 288. We have the two overlay project in 2015, 2016. We have the Federal Way High and Sacagawea pedestrian connectivity. This is on 14th Avenue between 312 and 308. We have the completion of 352nd Street extension that was completed last month. We have Sacagawea Middle School Safe Route School project that's under construction at the present time, scheduled to be completed by the end of 2016. We have 20th Avenue and South 316th sidewalk improvement. This is right next to the downtown park, Town Square 1. We completed 10 pedestrian crossing enhancement. As a matter of fact, this project also under construction at the present time. You can see a lot of activity going on 320th by 5th Avenue. This project also will be completed by the end of this year. We completed 18 signal upgrade to flashing yellow. That project was completed last month. We completed 7 school zone enhancement. That's, if you recall, the council awarded some fund toward that program, and 2016 complete what the council have approved, and as part of our request, we are asking for additional money for some school to be completed in 2017. We implemented 14 neighborhood traffic safety project, and we completed the construction of the salt brine system. This is to help us and save us money, actually, during snow and ice operation in the winter. The next item I have is a new funded program, and the program requested as part of the 2017-2018 budget. We have 2 positions that requested and appear to be funded at the present time, which is, the first one is the traffic engineer position for 2018, and the explanation for the need for that position, if you recall, the council approved us to submit the grant funding for the adaptive traffic control system, and we were successful enough to get $1 million for that project. The condition of that project is we have to have somebody to be able to operate it, and that position will be the person who's going to be operating that project. And then we have a construction inspector position. This is with all of the project, as you can see, that we completed in 2015, 2016, and scheduled for 2017 and 18. They are small projects where we don't have enough money in the project to go and hire a consultant to do the construction management work. So we have to inspect it in-house, in addition to the uptick in the right-of-way permit and development permit. So this position, which at the present time requested for 2018, will be able to do that type of work. The next list I'm going to be presenting to you are contingent on some additional revenue being approved by the council. And that revenue is mainly the revised fee schedule that I believe Aday highlighted to you last night. If the council approve that request, the following item most likely will be funded as part of the 2017-2018 project. The first item, operation and maintenance of new infrastructure. As you're aware that when we approve a project and we construct a project, to meet our standard, you're going to have landscaping maintenance added between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. You're going to have new street light added. You're going to have new signal on certain projects. All of that new infrastructure are new items that need to be maintained. This cost here is something that we calculated how much it's going to cost us to maintain that new infrastructure that the city have approved and constructed. In addition to that, some of that cost is for private development. As a private developer who does a subdivision within the city, the requirement of the city for them to install street lights. So the operation of those street lights is something become the city responsibility as soon as the city accept that project. That cost is also in that line item. And what we're asking for, $32,700 in 2017, $89,500 in 2018. Temporary help, we're asking for $10,000 additional fund in 2017 and $10,000 in 2018. And the reason for that is in 2015, the city, as part of the Teamster negotiation, they have increased the rate for all of our summer help. We used to pay them about $10 to $12 an hour. They increased that rate from $13 to $18 an hour. Now, as part of our level of service, what we have in the budget, the number of hours, and based on the budget that we have at that time. Now we are paying them more, therefore their number of hours is going to be reduced. So for water in our basket, for flagging with our crew during the summer, either we reduce the number of hours to be within the budget, or we increase the budget to adjust for the increased rate, which is, again, union negotiated rate. King County rate increase. Every year, the county, before our budget process, they send us a letter indicating that they were able to negotiate a new rate with their union, and the new rate would reflect X amount of dollar increase into their contract with us for the maintenance of the traffic system. They do maintenance on our signal, street light, they do some pavement marking in the roadway, and any other service associated with traffic. They provide that service. So they have notified us that the increase for 2017 and 2018, actually $13,285 for 2017, $26,837 in 2018. Electrical rate increase. We have PSE in 2015 increased the rate by 7.8%. Again, our budget based on this is how much we pay, and when that rate increase, we need to make the adjustment necessary to keep our street light on, and the adjustment requested is $26,806 in 2017 and $26,806 in 2018. Restore traffic count program. We're asking for $10,000 in 2017, $10,000 in 2018. That program is, we are required as when you submit for grant funding application, they want to know the condition of the roadway that we are submitting the application for. They want to know what the traffic count, what the turning movement, and so on and so forth. We had that funding prior to 2015. It was cut in 2015, and the impact was minimum because we were working on the comp plan. And the comp plan is going to require us to do some traffic count. So we felt that, okay, we are doing it through the comp plan. We don't need it. If you want to cut it for this budget cycle, that's fine. Now we don't have the comp plan anymore, and therefore we need that money to be restored. The only item that's not funded, and we have not been able to find the funding source for, if you recall about maybe 4 months ago, there was some request from some council member for additional street light in the city to be installed. And staff gave the council, through the committee and the council, a presentation on our program for adding street lights. And we explained at that time the budget we have is $8,000 for new street light to be installed within the city. That was not acceptable to the council, and we promised the council we're going to look at it, evaluate it, and come back and do a presentation to the committee and council sometime toward the end of the year. That presentation actually scheduled for November 7th. That's going to go to the LUTC trying to explain priority lists. Even though we don't have the funding, it'll be nice still for us to agree to a priority list. When we have John Doe citizen request a street light at a certain location, then staff will be able to look at that priority list and determine what that street light priority based on the council desire. And if we are able to fund it and we have the fund, we'll fund it. And if we were able to find funding for the new street light program, then definitely we'll be able, as we get requests from citizens, we'll be able to evaluate it and expend whatever approved by the council at that time. That program at the present time is not funded because we don't have the source of funding to pay for it. Now, what I discussed earlier was the ongoing costs. These are costs that if you put it in 2017, it's going to stay 2018, 2019, and so on. What I'm going to be discussing with you, these are one-time funded requests. This is just, if we requested in 2017, that's going to be funded in 2017. If it's 2018, it will be funded in 2018. The two positions I highlighted earlier, they require some upfront cost. The street inspector or construction inspector position, they need a vehicle. The vehicle to be able to go around different project, different location for right-of-way permit and so on and so forth. So the cost there is for a vehicle in addition to a specified cost that we have. Anytime we hire a new employee, there's a cost for workstation, computer, software, so on and so forth. And those are the number that we highlighted and we put in here. The traffic engineer position, there is no vehicle associated with that. And what you're seeing there, the workstation, the software, the computer, and so on and so forth. The $40,000 include a vehicle in it. The same statement here that what you're going to be seeing next, those, even though they are one-time requests, they are contingent, there's no money available for them, then they're contingent on the council approving the revised fee schedule. And they are signage upgrade, required signage upgrade. We have a mandate from the federal highway that we have to upgrade certain sign, as an example for one-way street that we have in the city, if we have any, and we don't have money other than where we have a divided lane. So as an example, on 99, you have a divided lane. So the first section, the southbound, considered to be one way. Those have to have certain sign added to them where under previous code or previous requirement, there was no required signage. So those new signage, that's what the $68,000 is going to be paying for. In addition to the one-way signage, we have curvature signage. Now, again, we are required by FHWA that we have to identify and analyze each curve on any road within the city, and we have quite a bit of them on Dash Point Road. We have to analyze it and find out what the appropriate speed or what the recommended speed need to be. And that particular curve need to be signed as this is the recommended speed. Again, we don't have it today, but we are required to have it by 2019, and that's what the money is going to be paid for. Traffic signal communication upgrade. We are requesting $104,000 for upgrading all of our traffic signals so they will be able to communicate with each other. One of the projects that we have, the adaptive traffic control system, most of those systems that we're going to have is going to be fiber. Now, throughout the city, we have fiber and we have copper. And what we are trying to do is make sure that those signals are able to communicate with each other. We have an existing software that the company who sold that software no longer maintain it, which means that's causing us some problem and causing us a lot of call out for our King County representative to come in and make those corrections. What we're hoping to accomplish with that is to upgrade all of our signal into a new system that they're going to be able to communicate with each other, and we'll be able to facilitate whatever new project that's going to be coming in, and mainly the adaptive traffic control system, adaptive traffic system. Now, one thing that I guess the council is aware of is we received a grant for $1 million, but also we have submitted for a grant for $1 million. And we'll find out if we receive the second grant in December 2016. So what's going to happen is if we receive the additional fund, you're going to have $2 million. And what we are trying to do is make sure we are prepping everything and all of the signals going to be able to communicate with each other. So when the information comes to the city hall, the traffic individual will be able to manipulate it and make sure that we are given the directional traffic where it's needed. The only other item we have in the street fund is, and that's part of the equipment reserve where the money is already there, is we have one of the sidewalk grinder replacement. It's a piece of machinery that we have that we normally use for any time you have a tip hazard on our sidewalk. Our staff will go there as soon as they get notified and they grind that tip. So we would not have any liability for anybody tripping on that area. And they will go and continue to evaluate and find out what the cause of the problem and see what the appropriate fix. But that particular grinder is going to give us an immediate tool to be able to go and take care of the problem. And as I said, this is coming from the equipment reserve where the money is already there. We're just replacing that piece of equipment. Anticipated key project. Now, these are projects we're anticipating to complete in 2017, 2018. As the council is aware, we have Pacific Highway South under construction, just started about a few weeks ago. It's going to go through construction in 2017, and hopefully by summer 2018 will be completed. So our hope is an anticipation that that project will be fully completed, coming in on time and on budget. 356th Street widening project. This is a project that we did the design and right-of-way acquisition, and we submitted for grant to TIB, and we think that we're going to be receiving that grant funding sometime in November. I think that's when they will notify us. In meeting with the TIB staff, they really feel that this project is going to get funded. So if the project gets funded, most likely will be under construction in 2017 and will be completed in 2017. The Steel Lake Park Sidewalk Project, this is a project that we received $300,000 funding from the state to complete a sidewalk connectivity on Steel Lake. The project is under design at the present time, and we're hoping to have it under construction in 2017. The adaptive traffic control system, I just mentioned to you, and that will be designed in 2017, construction 2018. 21st Avenue Sidewalk, this is another project. We received the money, grant funding for the construction of that project. The project was under design and right-of-way acquisition last year, and hopefully will be constructed in 2017. And then definitely the 2017-18 asphalt overlay. We're anticipating to have up to 10 pedestrian crossing improvement in 2017-2018, and up to 4 additional school zone enhancement. Citywide LID street light conversion project. This is a project we discussed with the council, and if we were able to find the funding source to get that taken care of, definitely there will be quite a bit of saving on the operation of all of the street light within the city if we are able to convert them to LEDs. And start the work on the city center access environmental process update. If you recall, in 2008, I believe there was the city center project that came to the council, and at that time the council took no action. And right now, the environmental process that we completed at that time expired, and we need to upgrade it. And hopefully, with this project, we'll be able, if we are able to get the funding for the construction of the extension, we'll be able to relieve some of the pressure in the downtown area. The other item we have is working with Sound Transit to complete the design of the Federal Way Light Rail Extension project. Definitely that project on the book, at least to come in all the way to 272nd, and that's part of that improvement will be in the city of Federal Way, and we'll be working with them on it. And if ST3 passes, definitely there will be design and construction that's going to extend all the way to the city of Federal Way. The near-term challenges for the street fund, we've been explaining to the council is that getting grant money is not as easy as everybody like to see it. Right now, it's become so competitive to the point that you have to market your project in a manner that you are competitive with everybody. Most of the funding agency no longer funding design, right-of-way, and construction. Everybody moving into construction. They want project to be construction ready. That means we have to upfront the cost for the design and the right-of-way acquisition. And that's what making it a little bit difficult for us to be able to find the necessary fund to get those projects ready for us to be able to be competitive with everybody else who's going to be submitting those projects. So keeping that is going to be a challenge that we're going to be dealing with in the future. Also, that if ST3 pass, our challenge is going to be finding resources to help us with the review and the construction of that project. It is anticipated in the market, looking at the engineering market and the planning market also, is that when that project gets approved, there's going to be shortage in engineering. You're going to have a lot of people from local municipality moving to Sound Transit. You're going to have a lot of people from WashDOT moving to Sound Transit, which means that's going to create a vacancy within those agencies. You're going to have a lot of consultants hiring engineers. And the reason for that, because Sound Transit contemplating not to design it and then put it out to bid. They're looking at design construct, which means that they're going to hire a contractor who's going to hire a consultant to design it, and they're going to build that project. So that's going to be a challenge for us if that funding for Sound Transit get approved, to be able to maintain our staff and to be able to make sure that if we need additional staff, which Sound Transit say they will be paying for, that they will be paying us to hire additional staff for the workload they're going to be presenting to us. The challenge, finding the resources to be able to hire the additional staff. That concludes the street fund presentation. If the council desire, I will continue with the rest of the department presentation, or I could pause for question from the council on this particular fund.
You have a question? Councilmember Moore, then Councilmember Honda.
Thank you so much, Marwan. We've worked a little bit more closely on various projects, constituent relations, and I certainly appreciate the work that your department does, and have learned of how much you know, and so I appreciate everything you've done here and your dedication for our community. We're talking a lot about sidewalk projects, and I look forward to sitting down with you and talking to you more in discussion with that in terms of what the plan is. Mm-hmm. But I have to ask the question, and I know that PTA members have been concerned about Green Gables, I believe that's the school, elementary school, and Hoyt Road, and that there have been students that have been walking on Hoyt Road. We all know that it's a dangerous road, and in the spirit of what's been happening lately, I wonder, and I think I might have asked you a question about this some time ago, but has that changed, especially now of what's been going on our streets? And like in some cases, I don't want to say that it's happening frequently, but in the time that it has happened.
Yeah, Councilmember Moore, you did ask me, and I gave you an answer, and I'm more than happy to give that answer again so everybody can hear it. The challenge we have sometime, we do have a funding program for Safe Route to School, and the challenge is the Safe Route to School area have to be defined by the school. So if the school does not define an area as a safe route, we cannot submit grant funding for. The area on Hoyt Road that was in question, the school have not designated it as safe route to school. They don't want the student to be walking on that particular area. And that's the challenge we have. The challenge we have, if it is designated by the school as a safe route to school, if they're able to manipulate the map that they normally generate for every school within the city, and that becomes safe route to school, the project will be more competitive when we submit for grant funding. If we do not have the grant, then it's going to be competing with all of the other projects that we have from a safety perspective. It's not just going to be funding for pedestrian improvement. It's going to be funding for pedestrian improvement and street widening to accommodate safety and capacity. So that's going to be the challenge, and hopefully we'll be working with the school trying to see if there is any way, if definitely we are hearing the community that there's an issue there and there is a problem there, and I heard it from you and I heard it from other council member, I believe. And the problem is we do not control how the school designates certain area, and therefore we could work with them, we could make a recommendation, but they are the one who have to make that designation.
Thank you.
You are very welcome.
That's Miranda.
Thank you. I was the other council member that brought that up, and the parents have talked to me about that. Maybe the principal just needs to be very clear as to how they want the kids to be walking to school. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what else to say about that. If we can't do anything to help them at this time, maybe the schools just need to be a little stricter on what they're telling the parents.
Councilmember Handa will be more than happy to work with the principal and trying to explain to him that we're getting those kind of concerns from property owner along Hoyt Road, and they want to make sure their kids are safe walking to school, and the school may have to do a little bit more trying to identify the safe route and how these kids should be walking to school and which area should be taken.
That would be a good idea. I have two questions. One's from Councilmember Maloney. She is watching at home. She doesn't remember a council member on LUTC asking for additional streetlights. She's wondering if this is a request to put lights along the BPA trail? No.
No, this is,
No, this was generated, remember, by Betty
Oh, okay.
Taylor
Okay.
question. And then I think Councilmember Moore, during the follow-up, because of the next council meeting,
Okay.
we had a report on that, on what it would cost to light that street. And then then Councilmember Moore had a couple of questions about lighting throughout the city.
Okay.
Is that consistent with your recollection?
that's correct, Mayor. There was a presentation to the council. We made a presentation, and part of the presentation, we explained that with the council, if the council desire, staff will be more than happy to go and evaluate all of the street that does not have a street light on. And what would that cost for us to implement street light everywhere? We're talking about $18 million worth of investment for putting street light on every street within the city of Federal Way. So the only way we're gonna be able to address that is taking it in small bite, where we are able to put some money, more than the $8,000 we have today, and work on that based on the request. Because, I mean, everybody would love to have street light on their street, but you need to take a look at it from a safety perspective, pedestrian connectivity, is there people walking on that street, is it safe, safety issue, and then, as I said, November 7 will be presenting it to the LUTC, and you're gonna see all of those criteria, and based on the criteria, the council adopt any new street light that's gonna be installed within the city, based on the available budget, will meet that criteria.
So I asked you last year, and I've been approached again by this, another citizen, for streetlights over by Adelaide, and I know last year you did look at it and it didn't meet the criteria. But if, one day if it does meet their criteria, they are very concerned over by Adelaide that it's dark, the kids are walking to school, and to middle school. The kids are up early walking to middle school,
Yeah.
and it's very dark over there.
We'll be more than happy to work with them. Again, all depends on the available budget we have. $8,000 does not give you a lot of street lights, especially if the street light have to be underground, because that's where the electrical service.
Okay.
Normally, we have some of those that cost $8,000 for one street light. Now, if it's overhead and we are putting it on a PSE power pole, that's a $500 request. So all depends on what is the request, the location of the request, and what does it cost to get the power to that street light. And that will determine how many street light are we able to do within the fund that's allocated to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
Hey, Councilor, any other questions? Hey, Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. Marwan, thank you very much for your thorough presentation. And having served on some of the transportation funding boards, I'm well aware of the cost of design and right-of-way acquisition. So I'm wondering what the implications are. Is that being quantified in terms of the increased funding we'll need for projects?
It has not been quantified, but we, as the council may be already aware, we already going in that trend. The way I was able to explain to you for funding 356 project for design and right-of-way and finding the fund for 356 design and right-of-way, because we could not get anybody to fund it as a complete project, all three phases. We got it designed, we acquired the right-of-way, we submitted the project to PSRC and did not score very well. So we were not able, even though we did what we thought is gonna help us, it did not help us there because the competition was a little bit too stiff. But TIB have a new program, and right now with their new program, if you have a project ready for construction, they will come and verify it's ready for construction. And if they're able to verify it's ready for construction, they're giving you the money. So that's the reason that this project, I'm very confident is going to be under construction in 2017, because we already met with TIB and they drilled us. Show me, demonstrate to me that this project will be under construction. You have the environmental, you have the right-of-way, you have the design, and we were able to demonstrate that to them, and that's the reason we're going to get the funding. The challenge would be that hopefully you're going to still have some agencies still able to fund design and right-of-way. The challenge, I think, that's my personal view, the reason you're having them shine away from that, they feel they are putting money into design and right away, and then the city is not able to come with the matching fund for the construction. So what they feel they're doing and what they feel they're happening, they are stranding that money for the design. And the design is time sensitive. You design a project and you put it on the shelf for 5 years, all of a sudden the standard change, the requirement change, and now you have to spend money to redesign it again. Or if you have all of the environmental been approved, 5 years down the road, all of a sudden you have to go through the environmental process all over again. So that's the challenge. And as I said, the reason I put it as a challenge because we're going to continue to find a way to finesse our project to get them funded. We have very talented staff. They know how to package those projects. The challenge is the more the funding agency tweak their requirement, the harder for us to be able to fit our project in.
Thank you.
All right, Council, anything else? Okay, let's go to the next.
All right, the next part of the public work presentation is the solid waste and recycling. And just to remind everybody, in the picture here, I have Jeanette Brezendine, that she was Recycler of the Year in 2016. So that's congratulations to Jeanette. Now, in 2015, 2016, key accomplishment in the solid waste and recycling division, again, with the hard work of Rob, we were able to obtain $253,356 in grant funding for the solid waste. We administered the grant, we administered the contract with Waste Management, acting as the ratepayer advocate. We managed the spring and fall recycling collection event, compost bin distribution, multifamily residential recycling training, technical support for forming the South King County Tool Library, Recycle Palooza, Family Green Fest, so on and so forth. I mean, that's many accomplishment and kudos for that division. The only request we have and was approved from the mayor is for printing and publishing some of the public outreach program that Jeanette put together. So what we're asking for, $22,000 for additional printing. In 2016, we went over budget, and they evaluated how much cost we needed for that, and it determined to be an additional $22,000. Anticipated key project that's coming up, our contract with Waste Management expired in 2019, so sometime within this budget cycle, we have to assess the next step, if we're going to go and rebid that project or what other option available to us. So that will be something coming up in 2017, 2018. To continue to provide the spring and fall recycling collection event and continue with providing public education and outreach for multiple family complex. And also working with King County Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Plan for review and approval of that process. Near-term challenges, I believe Rob was before the FEDRAC committee this week, where we explained to the committee that ecology took away 59% of the grant they submitted to. They granted for us in 2015, 2016. We're talking about $98,000. That's a lot of money to be able to lose, and for our staff to be able to find how they're going to fill in that gap. So what we have in our budget is, assuming that money is gone, our hope is that money is going to come back. The worst case would be more money taken away. And that's what's going to be a challenge for us. If more money taken away, we need to figure out what other program need to be modified or cut. So that's going to be the challenge coming up in the solid waste in 2017 and 18. That's concluded the solid waste and recycling division. The next division is surface water management. Key accomplishment in the surface water management, again, Teresa and her staff were able to get $529,115 in surface water grant. We met all of the requirement in the MPDS Phase 2 permit requirement, which is an accomplishment by itself. We completed 3 projects in 2015, 2016, the 356 regional regional detention facility or a water quality facility at the corner of 99 and 356. And we completed phase 1 of the Marine Hill Stormwater Conveyance System. And this project is going to be under construction in the next 2 months, which is the repair needed on Southwest 320th. We're going to do some in situ form where we are slip lining the pipe on Southwest 320th Street, just west of First Avenue, and on Marine Hill Way. Both of those projects will be completed this year, so the work will be done in October and November. And then we expanded the Storming of the Sound program to 25 additional schools. Some of the program requests for 2017-2018, we have public education and outreach position. We're asking for a position. At the present time, again, that's a requirement for us as part of the MPDS permit that we have, where we must do a lot of public education and outreach. At the present time, in 2015, 2016, we have existing staff, water quality coordinator and water quality specialist, and we had a temporary helping them trying to meet the criteria for the MPDS. We are having quite a bit of challenge meeting the workload that's needed for those positions, in addition to the public education and outreach. So the recommendation is for us to hire individual. That's going to be the requirement, and that will be meeting the MPDS requirement because that's required of us to do in 2017, 2018. Operation and maintenance supply, homeless camp cleanup. As the council is aware, we own a lot of conservation property. Surface Water owns a lot of conservation property. And as part of that, you're getting a lot of homeless occupying those areas, creating a lot of garbage and needles and so on and so forth. After we become aware of it, we normally get them to move out and we have to do a cleanup. And the cost right here, this is an ongoing cost where we feel that's going to be about $6,750 ongoing to take care of the homeless on city-owned property or a property owned by SWIM. And there will be some additional cost on the one time, and I'll be discussing that a little bit later. Miscellaneous professional service, this is utility fee billing. This is all of the billing for Surface Water Division is normally done by King County. King County notified us that there is additional fee that will be, the fee will be increased, and the fee will be increased by $15,833 in 2017, and the same for 2018. Miscellaneous professional services, that's WIRA 9. We are a member of the WIRA 9, and this is, we pay a fee based on the population of the city. They vote and they increase the rate, and our share of that rate will be $7,490 in 17 and the same in 18. As part of our MPDS permit, one of the requirements is for us to do some monitoring program. And a lot of municipalities had some challenges of all of the requirements that ecology imposing on everybody. So ecology found a solution, and the solution was, okay, we will manage that program. We'll do the testing, and different municipalities will pay their equal share. And they came up with that equal share for different municipalities based on population. And our share for that would be $61,633 for both 2017 and 2018. We have 3 projects that, part of the project, the berm within that project defined as a dam. And the new requirement imposed is that we have to analyze it. Ecology have to come in and inspect it, and there's a fee for that inspection every other years. And as I said, we estimated that on a yearly, the yearly cost is going to be around $3,000 in 2017 and $3,000 in 2018. Temporary help, union negotiated hourly rate. This is similar to what I discussed under the street fund. This is for 2017, 2018. This is the impact onto the Surface Water Division for the newly negotiated rate. Operation and maintenance of new CIP project. Again, similar to what I explained to the council in the street fund. Any new project that get constructed, additional catch basin will be added, additional water quality feature get added, and those require maintenance, and the maintenance cost identified here in $1,500 in 2017 and $5,000 in 2018. The next slide is the one-time funding. So we have consulting contract for Steel Lake Management. Now, the Steel Lake Management Board dictate what need to be done. This is for vegetation management, algae growth, so on and so forth, testing. What we are doing is taking the money that allocated by the Lake Management District, and we are putting it in our budget so we are able to spend it. So this is not funding coming from the city as much as the funding coming to the city, and this is the mechanism for us to spend that fund. The same thing for North Lake. You have $15,353 that's going to be coming in 2017, and $14,088 coming in 2018. Other operating supply, we got a grant from the Department of Ecology that they're giving us $10,000 where we could buy some additional supply, and they identify what those supply because that's what we identified in our grant funding application, and we just shown it in our budget, so we are able to spend it. Storming the Sound, this is a King County Waste Management Department. We got a grant from them for Storming the Sound, and this is mainly working with the school, getting some kind of a curriculum at the school to be able to educate the kids about salmon habitat and LID implementation within the city of Federal Way. So again, this is a grant fund that we're going to receive, and this is a method for us to be able to spend it by putting it in our budget. Public education outreach position, similar to what I discussed earlier, is that we're going to have a position, and that's going to be an on-time. This is the cost for that position to be able to be housed here at the city. The reason this costs less than the street position, because that position, the office space is going to be in the same location where we have the temporary help. So most of the computer and the equipment and the software already existing, so the cost is going to be less. Operation and maintenance of the homeless camp, that's what I mentioned to you, that the other cost was an ongoing cost. This is one-time cost. This is for us to make sure our staff have all of the tool and the attire necessary for them to work in that hazardous waste condition. Having the right uniform, gloves, hat, whatever necessary for them to be able to do that work. So this is one-time funding for that. Plus, this also, I believe, have some money for training, for us to take them and make sure what is the appropriate way for you to do that particular cleanup. Now, within the surface water management division, we have some equipment that need to be replaced. Again, those are equipment that we have reserved, collected for them, and they are at a stage where they need to be replaced. So we have a 6-inch pump and trailer, $57,000, side mower replacement, mini excavator, solar aero board, and trench safety box, and pool vehicle. A total of $238,000 that, as I said, the money have already been collected. It's there. It's just a matter of us replacing those equipment. And staff have evaluated this equipment and make sure that they reach their life cycle where it doesn't make sense for the city to continue to operate those pieces of equipment because the maintenance cost is just coming to be prohibitive. Anticipated key project in 2016, I guess this is a typo here, 2017, 2018, making sure that we meet all of the MPDS Phase 2 permit requirement, completing inspection of commercial surface water facility and conveyance system, in partnership with the Federal Way School, upgrade Storming the Sound with salmon program and incorporate low impact development into the education curriculum, complete the Upper Joe Creek nutrient reduction watershed study, and continue with the West Halbus conservation property acquisition. Anticipated key project continue that starting the West Halbus Education Center and Trail Analysis Study. This is the first phase of getting the trail within the watershed of the Halibos. This is preliminary planning for that project to find out what all necessary for us to have. Construct 3 projects in 2017, 2018, which is the Marine Hill Stormwater Conveyance System, Phase 2, 373rd Street Stream Restoration, and Bridge Property Culvert Removal and Replacement Project. Near-term challenge, there is a rumor that the upcoming 2018 MPDS permit, which is that we're going to be receiving, is going to have a lot more stringent requirement than the previous one we had. That the requirement's going to require cities to have additional reporting, increase requirement for illicit discharge. Illicit discharge, that means any property owner and they have a discharge, our inspector have to go there and inspect it on a regular basis and make sure their system operating. And if there's a spill anywhere, there is a certain requirement that spill have to be documented and ecology need to be notified. If that requirement materialize, definitely we'll be back before the council because the budget we have at the present time most likely may not be able to fund all of the requirement that's going to be coming up. Our hope that would be the new MPDS permit will be a requirement that's going to be implemented in 2019, and that will be a new budget cycle, and I'm assuming at that time will be before you trying to explain what all of the requirements for that, meeting the requirement of the MPDS permit. That concludes the Surface Water Management Division. Now, I still have the CIB portion of the budget. I'm happy to answer any question on surface water and solid waste if the council desire, or you could have the question toward the end.
Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. You didn't look too happy.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Okay. On storming the sound, does the school district put any funding into that?
The school district, they are not putting any money into it, no. At the present time, the money we have, the $70,000 I highlighted for you, it's money we're getting from King County under their wastewater treatment division. We were able to get some funding, and the funding was allocated for storming the sound. And as a matter of fact, we'll be paying the school because the curriculum is something that we don't have the expertise. We have to hire a consultant, and the school desire is not for us to hire the consultant, for them to hire the consultant, which makes sense. I mean, they do that day in and day out. They would like to have control over who they are hiring and what's being implemented. But that's, again, the money coming to the city sharing that money with the school.
And I was going to ask about the cleaning the homeless camps, about the training. So what departments are cleaning the camps? Is it just, it's more than your department, right?
Yes, I mean, what you have is my department only cleaning the portion that owned by surface water. So all of the Halibos watershed, most of those property that we've been acquiring, if there's homeless camp on that area, there is a proper way of documenting it, and we are working with other departments, making sure that it's in the system. Mm-hmm. But the cost for the cleanup is normally paid by the owner, in this particular case, Surface Water Division is the owner of that property, and that's what you're seeing here.
And the training has, before they ever started, employees were trained on how to handle the syringes and the waste and that kind of stuff.
That's what we are trying to make sure we did. There was training, and we're going to make sure that they continue to have that training, and they are aware of all of the risk associated with the work they're going to be doing.
Okay, thank you.
Some of those sites are so laden with needles that we've had to actually call in separate cleanup crews. Parks had that actually prior to the start of summer camp behind the community center, they had to clean up some of those. So it just depends on how far gone they are and how dangerous it is. Obviously, safety is the number one priority. Okay.
Continue.
Yeah, council, any other questions? Okay, great. Please.
All right, so the next item we have is the capital program, and we'll start with transportation, and then we'll end up with surface water. So with the transportation capital program, what I'm going to highlight for you, this is the source of fund that's going to be paying for all of the capital program that scheduled for 2017, 2018. So you have REIT fund in the amount of $2,626,000. You have fuel tax, $822,000. You have grant anticipated. Those are grants that we submitted for, but we have not received authorization for. But we have them in the budget, and if we do not receive the funding, that means those projects may not move forward. And we have grant received, so those are grants that we have received and the city council have accepted, so they are already in the budget. We have traffic impact fee of $1.5 million that been collected. We have left sales tax. We are anticipating utilizing $500,000 each year in 2017, 2018. And we have traffic safety fund in the amount of $2,005, and that mainly being used for one project only, and that project is for the school enhancement. You're going to see that that's one of the list of the projects. So the additional request we have for the council for school enhancement will be coming out of the traffic safety fund. So those are the projects that fund is going to be paying for. So you're going to have the annual asphalt overlay, which is normally we have it in 2017, 2018. And you have some of those projects that the council have been aware that they've been completed, but the physical construction been completed, but the funding for the project still not fully completed. And what I mean by that, some of our project, we have a warranty item for, let's say, the plant establishment. If you have plant within the project, you have 1 year of plant establishment, and we don't pay for those plants till they survive for 1 year. So the project have to hold some money, and that's the reason you're seeing that project have some money in the future, even though the project's completed. But the project has not been accepted by the city council because we have not brought it to you, because we have not spent the entire cost of the project. So you have 352nd project that was completed, as I indicated, but that's not all of the funds going to be expended. You have 356 project that will be constructed in 2017. You have the Phase 5 project, which is under construction as we speak, and is going to be in construction in 2017 and 18. You have citywide pedestrian crossing improvement. We have about $320,000 each year. We have school zone enhancement. This is the one I just mentioned earlier, where it's coming from the red light photo fund. You have 21st Avenue sidewalk project that is going to be under construction next year. Sacagawea Safe Route to School, which I mentioned to you, will be constructed this year, but we are anticipating the 1 year warranty on the plant will go into 2017. The citywide flashing yellow arrow retrofit, again, it's a project completed this year, but we have not paid all of the costs associated with that project. Steel Lake Park downtown to trail project. This is $700,000 project, will be constructed in 2017. 21st Avenue pedestrian connection. This is a grand staircase. This is a staircase that I believe we had some discussion on submitting a grant funding application. And I'll be going to the committee in November, on November 7th, asking for acceptance of $500,000 grant that the city received notification that we got for that particular project. The adaptive traffic control system, Phase 1, this is a project that we already received the money or the approval of the grant for, and it will be designed 2017, constructed in 2018. The Phase 2, this is the one I mentioned earlier that we submitted the grant funding for, but we have not received approval as of yet. The South SR 509, Southwest 312 to 21st Avenue Safe Route to School project. That's a project that we submitted a grant for, and we have not received approval of the grant funding as of yet. South 312th Street, South 312th Street, Steel Lake Park, 28 to the entrance to the park. This is a project, I mentioned that it will be under construction for Phase 1. This is Phase 2, where take the project from the entrance to the park all the way to 28. We submitted a separate grant money for it, and actually we submitted to two agencies. We submitted to TIB and we submitted to pedestrian connectivity WashDOT that administer that program. And hopefully one of them will come through and we'll be able to finish that project. So you will have a sidewalk all the way from 28 to 23rd on South 312. Olympic View Elementary School Safe Route to School project. This is a project also we submitted for grant funding for, but we have not received the approval as of yet. And the other project here we have is City Center Access Phase 1 Environmental Process Update. This is, I mentioned earlier that the City Center Access project is, the environmental process has expired, and now we have to go through the process of updating that environmental process. That's conclude the transportation CIP discussion. I'm going to move into the surface water management capital program. The funding for the capital program for surface water is pay as you go. This is the rate that staff or the division collect from all of the rate payer for surface water within the city. The project schedule for 2017-2018 are the small CIP, which is an annual program. The expense of that program about $1.5 million, mainly for anything that we have not planned. It's a project that we notified there's a sinkhole, and we find that the pipe is deteriorated to the point that need to be replaced. It's not something that we have the time to plan it, budget it, design it, and so on and so forth. This is where the money will be coming to take care of those problems, where it's a project that's become an emergency project and we'll go and proceed and get it done. And then you have the West Halibut Basin land acquisition. We have a budget of $226,000. You have the Marine Hill Phase 2, which is we are scheduling to go under construction next year. And you have the crossing at 373rd. You have the West Halibut Conservation Property Acquisition. The reason you have two line items there, one is 100% city fund, the other one where we normally submit for a grant and we get 50-50. So property purchased under that category, the city pay 50 and King County Conservation pay 50% of the cost. The bridge property, culvert removal and replacement, West Halibut Education Center and Trail, West Halibut Basin Regional Flow Control Alternative, and West Halibut Trail Spring Valley. These are preliminary engineering costs for those projects. Those projects cost a lot more than what you're seeing here. It's just a matter that what we have here is just to get us going, to get the preliminary design, go into the design, and then we need to find the money for construction. That concludes the public work presentation. I'm happy to answer any question associated with capital program.
Good.
Council, any other questions? Councilmember Moore.
Marwan, hopefully this question makes sense, because as you're coming along, I'm asking it, that's coming from my head here. In terms of the capital projects transportation, we talked about, and maybe this isn't the time to discuss it, but we talked about how you guys are starting the process of building the grand staircase, I guess, or
Yes.
whatever you, I don't know, and maybe I'm in the wrong section, I don't know, but.
No, that is the right section.
You know, and it seems to me that one of your employees has been doing an incredible job of really kind of doing things environmentally sound, such as the trail along Town Square Park, the rainforest, wouldn't call it forest, but garden,
Right.
and the green roofs and whatnot. Do you see any opportunity of that with the staircase and, you know, being able to build it using that
I
same?
can assure you, Councilmember Moore, that all of those ideas will be implemented.
Okay.
I cannot tell you which one is going to be constructed, but that's part of the process. Our requirement, our own standard require us to look at those type of design. The challenge for us will be figuring out how you're going to be able to accommodate both. Be able to have a staircase. There's a lot of idea. As I said, we have not started the design.
Right.
We have partnered within that project. I mean, you have the property owner, the potential property owner where you're going to have the hotel going to contribute fund toward that project. So the look of the project, the feel of the project, they're going to have some input to. But what I can assure you is all of those ideas and what referred to as LID implementation, making sure that you're looking into the environmental aspect of things, will be evaluated, and if there is an opportunity to include them, they will be included.
Okay.
And as I said, we have not started the design on it yet. It's scheduled to be designed and potentially constructed in 2017. So it's going to be a fast-track project if we were able to get the funding and the approval from the council
Definitely.
to move forward.
And my last question, Mr. Mayor, if that's okay, and that's school zone enhancements. I read what I see, but what does that mean? I mean, can you give me a little bit more detail?
Yeah, I could tell you that about 5 years ago, as part of the red light photo program, there was some fund coming in, and the council elected to use some of that fund for the safety program of implemented around schools. So they requested staff to identify all of those schools and what could be done. And staff have done that. And we came up with a 5-year program of saying, okay, based on the money generated from the red light photo and what we're anticipating, it's going to take about 5 years for us to implement what need to be implemented. And as a matter of fact, in 2016, we finished what the council have appropriated for us and tasked us to get done. What's being asked here is another $205,000, because what we have, you have certain school that the school define different street as safe route to school, and their signage on those street. What Rick have done when he did the analysis to the council 5 years ago, identified where we think there is a problem, there is a safety issue, and those what took priorities. Now you have certain school where certain street retrofitted with speed reader, larger sign, all of what presented to the council as the improvement we're going to do. But they have some other street that they have the same component, but we have not upgraded them. So what Rick is doing right now is coming back and saying, okay, for another $205,000, I'll be able to finish all of those schools, elementary and junior high, because there are certain street at the time when we presented it to the council, they were low priority. There's not much safety issue there, and we are trying to fit within the budget and within a 5-year program. Now, with this expenditure of $205,000, all of the school, all of the street around the school will be retrofitted with larger sign, reader for the speed limit during the time when the light is flashing and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, council, any other questions? All right, we'll move to our next presentation. We do have a request, and that's because the municipal court is a 10-minute presentation. We've got some lengthy presentations coming. I would ask municipal court to come up, give their presentation first, and then we can move on to some of the other departments. So, your honors, you are up. By the way, Marwan and the entire Public Works team, great job. Thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. We're going to try to repay that by being brief. So we don't have a PowerPoint this evening. We're going to keep it simple. First of all, as you know, by court rule and by city ordinance, the court's required to prepare the budget to present to you, that you present to the council. And I want to give a shout out to Ade, because without his efforts and everything, it wouldn't be possible. So it's just very much excellent work by Ade in helping us. I also want to thank Sue White, our court administrator, and then Judge Robertson, who will address you on community courts. This year we've added probation to the court. We now have a total of 16 FTEs, and probation's working pretty well. We were able to add a alcohol drug information school class at a discounted rate for folks. Very important when the affordability of conditions of sentence. We were able to add that. A lot of efficiencies having probation in-house that you can't appreciate unless you're down there and actually seeing the impacts it has.
Your Honor, if I could just interrupt just for a moment. We do have the proposed operating budget in our proposed budgets. It starts at C-55.
Good.
C-55. In the PowerPoint booklet we don't have that, but we've got in our proposed budget binders.
And what we just wanted to thank you for helping us with probation and then our new security contract and the other things. We're doing things in the community with MOUs with the Multi-Service Center. We also have leverage our FTEs with the multi-service center job program that we have a staff member on staff there too. So you've been kind of in the loop that we've looking at community courts. In terms of the health of a community, the kind of the motto that we have is no repeat customers. We don't want people coming back. And there's some things that kind of provide an impetus for people to be return customers that we're trying to get rid of. And I'm going to turn it over to Judge Robertson, who's going to talk about community courts. We visited courts in Spokane, Everett, and Olympia now, and they're a very excellent tool, and I'm going to turn it over to Judge Robertson to talk about that. So again, we're just going to do what we're going to do, and within the means you give us. And I'm very grateful to be a member of the court down there and all the staff. I'm going to turn it over to Judge Robertson now to talk about community courts.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm going to talk a little bit about our ideas on implementing a community court within Federal Way Municipal Court. What this kind of specialized court would do is target the frequent customers or frequent guests of the criminal justice system that we have. These are non-dangerous, low-level offenders, but who frequently use our court systems because they're always getting into trouble, either thefts, criminal trespasses are our most frequent ones. They're cost a lot of money in terms of jail costs, being in and out of jail with warrants and getting arrested. They're cost a lot of money in terms of court hearings, using up our attorney costs, etc. What most of these folks share are high needs in the community. They're frequently mentally ill, frequently chemically addicted. They don't have housing. They're obviously have a lot of problems maintaining employment. These are all barriers to them being successful on probation. And that model and just saying, hey, you go out and do this to be compliant with probation hasn't worked. So what we're looking at is implementing a community court where it would be a much more intense management of these cases. Essentially, we'd be putting them on just a separate day, kind of moving our court calendars around. We wouldn't be creating any new infrastructure. People would screen into the programs, and the idea would be to have all the service providers, instead of being at their offices, would come to court on the one day so that these folks who come into our court can get access to their housing, can get access to medical services, access to mental health treatment, access to drug and alcohol treatment, all in one place. It's often a huge barrier for them to be able to try and go to all these places separately. We would have intensive case management of these particular people to make sure that they're accessing these services. And our hope in doing so is that we actually reduce their use of the court time and the court costs, that we meet their needs so that eventually we're going to be saving costs in terms of having them in our jails constantly, which is what is happening. We are touring other courts, as Judge Larson mentioned, that have done this at no cost. It's a restructuring. It takes a lot of time and effort, but we're willing to do that, and we're hoping to be able to present something more definitive to you after we've gone and toured how other courts are doing it right now. Does anyone have any questions?
Great. Counsel?
I raised my hand. It's good to see you guys up here. What percentage of the cases that you see downstairs right now would be affected by doing this?
I think off the top of my head, I would say between 30 and 50%.
Wow.
Of the cases that we have are, would you agree with that? Are the, the kind of the chronic low-level offenders, the criminal trespass, the intoxicated people who are downtown in the downtown core area.
Theft
They get
thirds.
arrested for thefts. They get
Yeah.
arrested for criminal trespass very frequently, and they are very frequent users of our court.
So are they court ordered?
50% of the people in jail at any one given time are there on probation violations. So as Judge Robertson indicated, if we can keep them compliant, then we reduce the amount of jail time they'll be spending if we can keep them compliant.
So you talked about some of these folks being homeless.
Correct.
How would you propose finding places for them to live? Is that part of what you're trying to do?
It is. Housing services would be part of what we're trying to do. What we would do is have the folks from DSHS who manage Section 8 or other housing services, Catholic Community, the Community Center, Catholic Community Services, all there in the same place, so the folks can actually be in one place to access the services that they need and hopefully find housing with assistance from these folks. It's very difficult, especially for someone who's mentally ill and addicted to jump through all these hoops to try and get the services they need. We would be trying to assist them in doing that.
Well, I hope it works, and I thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Burbidge?
Thank you. That's a significant percentage of the folks you see. In the courts where you've toured, do they typically have the representatives of those services in the court that day so that they're
They do.
accessible?
That is one of the primary pieces, is that everybody is in one place. The mental health provider, the drug and alcohol treatment provider, the housing provider, so that literally people go from table to table,
Right.
getting access to these services in one place, and then meet with the judge and meet with their attorneys, and it's a very intensive management of their cases, and they actually get housing, and they get their mental health treatment, and they're managed, and it cuts the frequency of them being arrested, being in court, using our jails.
What it effectively does is what we're doing when we see homelessness and some of these issues, we're treating symptoms. The idea is to treat the underlying causes, to get rid of the symptoms, and to get those things, the impetus for crime, to at least make an effort to try to remove those stimulus that are getting people to be repeat offenders.
Thank you.
All right. Council, any other questions, comments? All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Good luck.
you very much.
Yeah, it would be. Okay, now we'll move on to Community Development Department. We'll have Scott Sproul, our interim director, give the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. I'm Scott Sproul, Acting Community Development Director, here to bring you the Community Development 2017-18 proposed budget. Here's a simple org chart that I can go through. Got the director at the top, administrative division, which takes care of the director, supports lodging tax committee, planning commission, and does passports. And then there's the planning division, which does land use review, environmental review, comprehensive plan management, rezones, special reports, and permit center processing. The building division administers the building code, construction codes, reviews construction permits and inspections of buildings, and permit center processing. This is just to name a few. Then there's the community services division, the community development block grant program, human services commissions, diversity commissions, and CDBG, small business loans and loan advisory. You know, it's what this org chart doesn't do, is it doesn't talk about the staff in the community development department. They're an outstanding bunch. They're dedicated, hardworking. They've all stepped up in this last 6 months to support me. I would not be able to do this job if it wasn't for them. So I go out to them for all their efforts that they've done and the hard work and the extra workloads that they've put on. So just a little recognition for them. Community Development Department. The mission of the Community Development Department is to help maintain and improve the quality of life of Federal Way by managing and fostering the safe, orderly, and beneficial development and implementation of land use, building construction, code enforcement, and community service programs with the input from the Federal Way citizens and within the policy framework provided by the City Council. Goals and objectives. Ensure that the planning efforts and the regulatory environment provided for a balance between protection of the environment and neighborhoods and accommodating the new development to house a growing population and jobs. Strengthen human service agencies and the social well-being and economic health of the community by administering and monitoring the CDBG direct entitlement city. Accomplishments of the administrative division. Reduce archive storage, thereby saving the city storage fees. In 2015, processed 2,982 passport applications. In 2016, we project over 3,000 passport applications, an increase of about 3% with a total revenue of $76,800. Planning Division accomplishments, 2015-16. Major comprehensive plan update. Foresight specific comprehensive plan amendments and rezones. Critical area code update. Code amendments related to nonconformances. Code amendments relating to extending the time frame for the City Center Plan Action State Environmental Policy Act. Continued, code amendments prohibiting marijuana-related businesses. Code amendment related to processing of variances. Supported law department adoption and extension of 2 moratoriums, marijuana and then the multifamily. Code amendments to the open space requirements. Applications to extend the Enchanted Parks concomitant agreement. And with Public Works Department, Sound Transit, and other agency staff evaluate and review the IES for the projects extending the light rail to Federal Way. Planning and building, neighborhood connections and meetings, significant development projects. This is a very packed slide. Yeah, I apologize, but it just shows all the major projects that have gone on in the last year. We got the PAC, Park 16, senior housing, Kids Corner, Uptown Square, Mirror Lake Village Senior Housing, the Veterans Center. A lot of these are, being built now and will be finaling out in this year. Ulta Cosmetic was last year. Red Robin will be here in the future. Chick-fil-A next year. Federal Way High School, will be completing phase 1 here, and hopefully they'll be moving in October, 1st of November at some time. Building Division, major updates to the Amanda permit tracking system. That was just done this week. Implement procedures for contacting applicants and proper notice for expiring permits and applications. There was a severe backlog of that, and so we're proceeding forward to take care of that. Create an automatic daily phone log to track callers and issues and staff response. It's a little program that was designed by one of our staff members. The Permit Center handled 13,476 in-person visits, phone calls, and emails. It's a lot of visits for the Permit Center. Building Division continued. Average wait time for customers was about 4 minutes. 5,005 building permits, land use, and public works applications, resubmittals accepted. Reviewed and issued 193 signed commercial and single-family permits. 96 public records requests. I know the city clerk talked about public records requests last night, and we took about 1/3 of those, went to our department. I think she mentioned a little over 300, and we had 96, so that's close to 1/3. We did 54 over-the-counter appointments. Those are plan reviews we do at the counter to, so the customer doesn't have to submit and wait. Community Service Division, manage Human Services General Fund grant process and administer the grants of 38 programs. Awarded a total of $1,041,000 over 2 years. Conducted the housing repair program, serving 130 persons in 53 households. Transitioned the AHRP from grant-based program to a loan-based program. Awarded and administered 188,360 in CDBG community service grants for 5 agencies. Awarded and administered 405,000 in CDBG grant C and CERT grants for 4 agencies and several city programs. Prepared, submitted, and received approval from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for the city's Section 8 loan for the Performing Arts PAC. Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy Area, NERSA plan for the Camelot Laurelwood area. Completed and received approval from HUD for the CDBG Annual Action Plan for 2015 and 16. Participated with King County and the cities of Auburn, Kent, and Bellevue to prepare a consortium of a wide consolidated plan for the CDBG program for 2015 through 19. Worked with HUD on monitoring the city's CDBG program in September 2000, which led to a letter of compliance. some key projects. Supported economic development projects in the city center throughout the city. Made significant progress on code amendments. Supported the development process with timely land use and submission permits, reviews, and issuance. Supported major redevelopment projects in the city center and neighborhoods. Process code amendments with the focus on economic development. Implemented the CDBG and Human Services General Fund Program. Worked on local and regional efforts to address housing and human services needs. Achieved HUD recognition for the city's grant program. Administered federal CDBG rules and regulations for grants. Transitions community service grant applications process and management for a paperless-based system to an online system. Evaluate and make changes to the human service grant application and award process, criteria and management. Explored possibility of establishing a local home consortium with cities in South King County. Implemented NERSA plan for the Camelot or Laurelwood area. Expanded online permitting capabilities. Administered and enforced land use and environmental and nuisance codes. Managed an increased volume of code compliance and CARs, CARs, citizen action requests is what that stands for. Implemented proactive code enforcement actions. Developed and administered enforcement of international codes for plan review and construction inspection. Long-range planning and policy work, comprehensive plan and neighborhood plans, code revisions, and housing annexation. Partnered with Federal Way Police using Safe Cities software to identify joint code enforcement issues. Work and partner with South King Fire and Rescue in order to provide fire prevention plan review, inspections of sprinkler and fire alarm system, assessment of fire and of damaged buildings. This is one of the revenue charts in the book. Let's go forward on that. The department's overall proposed operating budget totals $4,459,000 in 2017 and $4,469,000 in 2018. This overview includes a general fund, Proposition 1 fund, and CDBG fund. Major line item changes include a net decrease of $136,102 due to the elimination of one-time consulting services of $100,000. Just to expound on that, that is our, it's not a consulting service. That is part of what we use to pay our intern that we have in the planning department. So we'll be losing that person. With that intern, runs to Seattle to record, does research for the planners, does minor letters and stuff. So we'll be losing that first year because we can't fund that. And the other part of that money goes to, we have an in-house senior planner that has been working with us the entire year on some of the larger projects like Creekwood, and then of course Warehouser. And so he's been spending all that time on that, which frees up other planners to work on some of the daily stuff that comes in. So we'll be losing both of those due to that budget cut there. Budgeting benefits and salaries and wages for the position of CDBG fund in prior years, changes in employee positions offset by step increases for positions and cost of living increases. Increase of $78,000 due to changes in employees with different health insurance plans. Budgeting benefits for CDBG positions not previously budgeted under benefits. Step increases and cost of living increases, increasing percentages driven by benefits and increase in health insurance premiums. Service and charges, a decrease of $79,651 due to a decrease of the $106,000 one-time day shelter services and human services agency support, offset by an increase in CDBG service of $27,000. A governmental increase of $19,000 due to an increase in Puget Sound Clean Air Agency's annual clean air assessment. Do you have any questions?
All right, Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. I'm intrigued why we would be cutting staff in your department at a time when the city is growing and needing as much help as possible.
That was treated as one-time funding, and they're not, as a full-time FTE. So they have been, as a consultant based, so that was a place to reduce. I know it's not my choice, you know, but it was one, especially with an intern who, you know, the interns come in, sometimes they'll say 2-3 months, and they actually give us new interns, and we've been real lucky to get their next person. Some will stay longer, but we've had a great, you know, working relationship with them. You know, some come from the UW Tacoma, or they come from the north, so, and then, of course, then the other person that, the senior planner, you know.
So how will this affect the operation of the department with the loss of,
You know, all the, of course, you know, that'll go back to the staff that we have, because we have 2 senior planners, principal planner, and 2 associate planners. So that workload will, you know, have to go back to the senior planners, because the contract planner there, he was a senior planner, so that would have to fall on those 2. They'd have to, you know, divvy up their workload, and then, of course, the one would have to obviously stay with the warehouser.
all right, thank you.
Council, any other questions? Councilmember Moore?
Yes, thank you. Can I get a clarification on the enhancing the online services for,
Is that permits?
I'm sorry?
Permits?
Yes, what does that mean?
We started about a year ago doing online electrical permits, so the contractors didn't have to come into the permit center, because we do probably triple or 4 or 5 times electrical permits, so they can just do online and with the credit card program. And then we moved that to online plumbing for like hot water tank installs to houses or some furnace installs. So we keep expanding that. And so we started with an easy program with the electrical, because, you know, we're familiar with those, and then we started moving online, bringing different types of permits onto the online program. It's, you know, saves commute down, you know, and then they don't even have to come and get the permit card. We take that out to the site, we drop that off, and a lot of times the contractor's not even there, just it's the homeowner. The contractor calls inspection, so we just deal with the homeowner, drop all that paperwork off with them, so we deliver that, so it really helps them out, both ends.
Thank you.
Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. I'd like to talk about the concomitant agreement with Enchanted Parks. I had asked now a couple times.
Mike?
Oh, sorry. The concomitant agreement with Enchanted Parks, I had asked if we had any other agreements, and found out last week we have one with Christian Faith Center, but didn't know that we had another one with Enchanted Parks. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, what I know about it, yeah, we've had one for many years, and it's due, and I believe in the next 2 years, and they want to increase their height for rides and stuff, so it's part of that, you know, going through that agreement. We'll extend that out for another, you know, 20 years, and then, of course, they'll review, you know, the increase in height in the area, and that's part of the whole, their agreement.
And will that come before LUTC and council?
Yes, that will.
Do you know when it's scheduled to do that?
We met with Enchanted Parks, I'm going to say back, maybe in July. You know, we had an appointment with here in the city here for probably about an hour, and they brought in all their information, and they asked what the city needs to kind of get it, and to get them going, and we gave some criteria, and we have not heard back from them. You know, we thought we would, because they were, you know, giving us plenty of time to get the review done, get the information out, and get it through the process, so, but we have not heard back from them. I'm guessing as summer ends and they close down a little bit, that we'll see them back this fall, but we have not heard from them.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other questions on that? All right, thank you, Scott. Good job. Okay, next we've got the Parks Department and John Hutton, our director, and his team. Scott, you did a great job. Tell your folks we said thank you.
Thank you very much.
Front row, Cody. Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and City Council. Proud to be here tonight to present the 2017-2018 proposed budget. I have a brief overview of our programs and operations this evening, and I brought with me our key members of our staff, Deputy Director Steve Eichard, Parks and Facilities Manager Jason Gerwin, Dumas Bay Manager Rob Ettinger, Community Center and Recreation Manager Doug Nelson, Community Center Supervisor Kimberly Shelton, and Recreation Supervisor Cody Geddes. So if there's anything I'm unable to answer, our team is here to help answer any questions that I'm not able to answer. So I'd like to start with our org chart, which you're all very familiar with. You have it in front of you, so I won't bother reading that to you. Our next slide is our Parks Department accomplishments. This is kind of an overall department. We successfully designed, built, and opened Federal Way's first downtown park on time and on budget. It was an amazing, significant accomplishment. We also successfully built significant tenant improvement projects within this building, as you know, your offices and improvements to the mayor's office. Those were also done in a timely manner and on budget. Our Parks Department hosted numerous special events throughout the year, throughout both years, including Red, White, and Blues, Town Square Park, concerts in the park, many, many, many other special events. We made significant improvements to trails and several park paths, which has been a huge point of emphasis for our Parks Commission. And following a public process and with support of the Parks Commission and Council, we installed a new playground at Adelaide Park. It's very nice, and swing sets finish there very shortly. And that will be a completed division. Accomplishments within the Recreation Division. Our Recreation Division is defining a gold standard language for our vision statement. We're analyzing our cost recovery model, and we're surveying our citizens. We've actually completed our surveys to make sure we're meeting needs, and we're putting some of that information to use in future programming plans. Our Community Center, one of the jewels in our crown. The Community Center is cost recovering again at nearly 90%, which is astonishing, far above the national average, more than double the national average in case. I know I've told you that before, but we're very proud of that accomplishment. We've been awarded top honors in Best of Federal Way contest, and last year we raised almost $9,000 for our Rec Inc. program at our Oktoberfest, which is coming up in the next couple of weeks. Our parks and facilities. We maintained and performed repairs to over 255,000 square feet of facilities throughout the city that the Parks Department maintains. We maintain over 1,128 acres of parks and greenbelts. That's a lot of acreage. Our Dumas Bay Center has just done fantastic. We secured a large amount of return retreats and business. That's quite an accomplishment. It's one thing to get business, and it's a whole other thing to keep it. And that is a strong indication of excellent customer service and excellent performance by the entire staff, which is 3 people, and it shows how hard they're working to keep those people. We have achieved our highest revenues ever in the years both 2015 and 16, and we're on pace just going forward, moving in the right direction. Our chef, Scott Franklin, has just been a wonderful find for us. He's done a great job, and we wanted to show you the improvements in our food service. In 2014, we made $296,000. In 15, $318,000. These are Scott Franklin years. And this year, we're at $375,000 in food service. So that operation, it keeps going well, and we're very proud of that. Dumas Bay Center also installed new carpeting with the help of the council to the entire facility. We added mini-split air conditioning to make the 3 meeting spaces much more comfortable in the summer. Many of you are aware it was very, very warm in there, and those now make it wonderful in the summer months. We got a lot of compliments on that. And we negotiated a new contract agreement with Center Stage Theater for a 3-year contract for 3-year theater management that's mutually beneficial to both entities and puts us in a better position going forward, as well as Center Stage. So we're very excited that that got done, and it's moving in the right direction. Key projects anticipated in the Parks Department. We are developing the Panther Lake Trail project. That has been an ongoing source and a high priority for our Parks Commission. We are moving forward in the right direction on that, and we'll be bidding that in 17 and hopefully even constructing it in 17. And we'll just be at the very beginning of a coordinated process involving all of the stakeholders in the historic Brook Lake property development. It's going to take several stakeholders, including multiple departments within the city, most likely the school district. So that's an exciting property with lots of historical value and great regional attraction to the watershed and education potential. So our Recreation Division, key anticipated projects. We are in the start of the CAPRA accreditation for the Parks Department. This sets us on a path to get gold medal standard, to be one of the best parks departments in the United States. That is our goal. That's been our goal for some time. And yes, Councilmember.
I just want to say for the people watching on television and there are, would you tell them what CAPRA is?
I would be happy to tell them
Thank
what
you.
CAPRA is, because I wrote it down. It is the Commission for Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies, and that award is for excellence in operation and services in the recreation field. And we are absolutely on the right path to getting that. So we have a tremendous department, and we're very proud, and we'd like to get that recognition so our citizens can see that they really do have one of the best parks departments in the whole state now. So we're very proud of that. We were continuing to pursue an after-school program in partnership with the Federal Way School District. We've had meetings with them, and I believe they're going to bear fruit for an after-school program, before and after-school program, that will help us both achieve our missions, where we will provide wonderful recreation opportunities and some tutoring, learning opportunities for kids before and after school. It'll help those parents out that have to work sometimes in Seattle, and we'll be there late and there early, making sure those kids have a good meal and good programs to start their day off right and have them start to experience some success in school and keep them on the right path to build an even stronger community. So, and then we're developing teen-focused activities, including late nights and adventure outings. I know that's a strong interest of Councilmember Moore. Recreation Division, we coordinate community events and celebrations. We provide services to enhance the health and well-being of our community, and we take that very seriously. We provide recreation and inclusive services to individuals. Our inclusion program is among the very best. Kevin Hutchinson, who runs that program through the community center, just does a phenomenal job, and we appreciate the support of the mayor and council on those programs. It's a wonderful program, and those young adults are very thankful that we have that, and we're very thankful that we're able to offer it. Our community center, key anticipated projects. We want to continue to provide a facility that promotes fitness and wellness through dynamic exercise program and state-of-the-art fitness studio. We are by far the very best fitness center in the state of Washington. I don't believe there's anybody that can hold a candle to us from a service standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint. We have people with master's degrees, including Kimberly Shelton sitting right here, who runs our fitness program, does a phenomenal job. Doug Nelson. These are world-class athletes teaching our citizenry to be more healthy and eat better, feel better, move more, and it's making a huge difference in our community. And you can tell how good they're doing. Our retention rate is tremendous, much higher than the national average. Our retention rate is. Many fitness operations want you to pay your fee and never come in so you don't wear out their equipment. If you don't show up to our facility in 30 days, we call you and say, we miss you. Where are you at? We want to see you here. We want you to be there. We want to connect with your family. We want to make you healthy. We want to make you happy. We administer an aquatic safety program that's second to none, in my opinion, and I don't think that's my only opinion on that. Craig Feldman just does a terrific job. We teach thousands of kids to swim each year, and who knows how many lives that saves in a state that's surrounded by water, where kids learn to swim and they can enjoy water for the rest of their lives because they learn to swim at the Federal Way Community Center. And we serve as a venue for general recreation programs, including athletics and a vibrant senior service program. It just does a great job. You can go over there any day of the week and you'll see a very active and happy senior service, senior population. Our parks and facilities, key anticipated projects. We want to continue to work on completing a parks maintenance management plan. This is an inclusive document. It can be up to 100 pages on a single park to tell you how many times, frequencies, cost, man hours. This is a very intense document, and we want to create one for each park. We have one done for several parks. We're just completed one on Town Square Park, and we're working on one right now for actually the PAC, for the outdoor facilities at the PAC. This provides a manual for how to best take care of the resource and manage that resource in the most economically responsible way going forward for facilities that last 100 years or more. And this keeps you on path and on track to get that done. We want to complete construction of the maintenance building at Celebration Park. There's still some work inside that maintenance building that needs to be done, that will help us with storage and things like that. And we need to restore our failing natural turf throughout the system. Much of our natural turf, for instance, Celebration Park, we've experienced some failures in some area at Celebration Park, and that needs to be restored. We don't want to lose that turf at Celebration. So that'll be a continuing work project for us. Parks and facilities, we want to develop a preventative maintenance and operations plan. That's an even deeper thing for the entire system. This is preventative maintenance on everything that we own, from buildings to lawns to irrigation systems, everything throughout the entire system. A preventative maintenance plan is a strong roadmap to success. And we will provide ongoing maintenance and repairs at all of our parks and facilities, including City Hall. Our Dumas Bay Center, can't say enough about how well they've done under the direction of Rob. They provide a regional conference and retreat center that enhances economic development. There's no question we bring people in. They definitely stay overnight, and we can prove that because they're staying with us. We manage food service operations and increase revenue, and again, Scott and his kitchen crew have just done a great job down there. And we get comments. We survey every single customer every single stay, and the comments are over the top positive about the customer service and the food service. And the view doesn't hurt a bit either, so we appreciate having that. So that pretty much concludes our goals and our accomplishments. These requests, although we have a balanced budget and we will go forward doing well, these are unfunded requests for 2017 and 2018 that would help us increase our level of service and preserve our current resources if the revenue streams were there and sufficient to do these things. This is not a complete list, but this is a prioritized list. I mentioned the natural turf restoration throughout the system, and Celebration Park is a good example. It's not the only example. We have many complexes that are 20 or more years old, or approaching 20 years. And so some of the things that have to be done to maintain a high-quality turf in a high-play area like Celebration Park, that we far exceed the national standards for how many soccer games, for example, you should play on a natural grass field in the Northwest. I believe the number is somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 games a year per field. So that's the standard. You shouldn't play more than that, and the rest of the time that field should be being rested or maintained in a perfect world. Well, there's no such thing as a perfect world, and we agree with that. But we're about 4 times that number. We're at around 200 games per year, and we don't allow practices on those fields. So that will tell you that where if you have natural turf in the Northwest, it's a difficult animal to corral and keep in great shape, and it's in our best interest to have that in great shape because that's an economic driver for our department and the city. So these first 3 pieces of equipment that all have kind of crazy names, those are all specialized equipment to take care of natural turf. The next one down is certification for spray park operators. When we opened the spray park, we understood that it's an aquatic facility in its own, and that takes certification for operations to run that. We made it through the summer using the talents of people at the community center, but that's not an ongoing option for years. So there's a small fee to get people certified to maintain an aquatic facility, and that's what that is considered, aquatic facility operator's license. We'd like to increase other operating supplies for parks, $5,000. We're seeing an increase in things that we don't think about, we take for granted, and they're very essential, like doggy bags. We're having a ton of dogs in our parks, which we welcome dogs in our parks. We love them, and we definitely want people to pick up after them, and we provide those bags. And those bags are a large expense. And so we'd like to increase one of the areas of strong interest within the community has been the utility box vinyl wraps that have been wildly popular. I don't believe there's anybody who doesn't like them. We love them, but there's not an ongoing funding source for those through the Arts Commission. So that would be something we'd like to increase. We think it beautifies the city. We think it's an exciting project. The Arts Commission absolutely loves it. It's exciting to see that art. It wasn't there yesterday, it's there today, and everybody likes it. So We need to increase rentals for lift vehicles. We have more things that require high lifts that need to be taken care of, such as stadium lights and things like that. We've exceeded those line items in the past. And as we do more and more events, the use of Santa cans is a definite need. So these are kind of on the wish list. A utility cart for Town Square Park, that's a 4-acre park, and if you're dragging stuff around or carrying it around, it's a whole lot easier if you had a utility cart that could get you from one point to another. Our urban forestry, we've experienced an increase in problem trees throughout the years. We've had more trees fall. That's a function of cottonwoods growing, and cottonwoods die quickly, and they die, and they fall, and they do damage. So it's not just cottonwoods, but that's a particular problem tree in our area. And we need to increase our urban forestry to keep up with the demand of the problem trees in the parks. I think we had about 100 problem trees since summer. So, and those require an outside arborist to come in and assess the problem, and if it needs to be limbed, or if it can fall on its own and not hurt anybody, that's fine, but if it needs to be taken down, we need to pay for that. It would be nice with the nature and the popularity of Town Square Park, which has been just a hit. It's packed all the time. It really needs 7-day-a-week attention, and so a couple of 8-hour-a-day seasonals would be a huge help at Town Square Park. And of course, maintenance workers would be a great thing to have more of. We're still down since the depression, or the recession rather, in 2008. And so, if the funding could be found, that would be a wonderful addition to help us take care of what we have and continue to move forward. Again, we're after this gold standard, and this gold standard means that we are doing everything to the best possible practice. So that concludes my presentation this evening. I'm happy to answer questions, and my staff is available to answer questions for you as well.
Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. 2 years ago, we had the Lakota Park come up, and we had several meetings about that. Since Dr. Campbell has been superintendent, has there been a discussion with her about helping us redo a portion of that park?
There was a discussion, and I don't know, I can't speak for the mayor if he's had a discussion. I know they wanted to wait until the completion of Federal Way High School to see where they were going to have funding. That was the last discussion that I'm aware of, unless something else has happened.
So that's still 2 or 3 years out then?
Well, yeah, they just spent 100.
They're just about to finish the high school, and I think they'll
Well,
be able to know what their finances are in a few months.
They're finishing a portion of it, and then they have to tear down the other portion, so that it's going to be several years. Okay. And the utility boxes, I do like that program, but in our environment these days, I think that what I would like to see, and this was talked about when the boxes started, was having businesses support having a utility box covered in front of their business, and perhaps having them pay for it. Has that been examined?
Yeah,
I'm going to defer to Cody. Cody, has there been any discussion at the Arts Commission of having sponsorship?
The Arts Commission has put together a sponsorship packet. There just hasn't been a lot of interest in the Arts Commission to go out and solicit those donations, but it is available.
I've talked to Gary Gillespie extensively about the boxes and the box art, and it's been really a great addition to our community, as I think we all agree. And that's something that he was, contemplating. We were working with our legal staff to make sure we had gone through the hoops on that. So I think it is about their outreach to do that.
I think that would be a good way to continue the program.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, the cost, per box is actually not all that. This can be done on an ad hoc basis as it's done. It's been done already. So, the absence of a line item in this budget does not mean that we're not going to have any other. There is availability to do these on an ad hoc basis from time to time. So,
Thank you.
Councilmember, Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Deputy
Go
Mayor
ahead.
Burbidge, and then Councilmember Duplo. Sorry.
Lakota Park was at the top of my list as well. So I'm very interested in determining just what the status is and can be. for that improvement. Related to the utility boxes as well, I'm aware that the Arts Commission has used part of its budget and anticipates using, unless additional funds from its budget, which has affected their planning for the contracts for services and the availability of funding in that category. So I very much would support too efforts to seek additional funding for that project. The contracts for services funding has been affected. Well, the funding that the city has traditionally made available for the performing arts groups has been affected by the more stringent regulations for lodging tax money, requiring a 50-mile distance in order for a visitor to be considered a tourist. That's a pretty high bar. So that funding provided through the contracts for services has become even more important, more significant to those organizations. So I think we need to keep those factors in mind. And also, John, I had mentioned to you the possibility of a grant availability, and I was just checking on that, and it turns out that there's possibly going to be a range of grant funding available through the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office. And with a date, they want letters of intent by October 25th. And the range of funding would be $25,000 to $250,000. So, and I have a little more detail available.
Thank you.
Can share with you.
We will absolutely look into that hard.
Thank you.
I do want to say, in the last budget, with this council allocated, I believe it was $750,000 for the Lakota Park.
700, I believe.
$700,000 for Lakota Park. We sat and had a meeting, actually you were present at that meeting, with the then superintendent, with representatives of the school, and we were talking about doing the field and a track around it, much like the Sacagawea Junior High has right now, and we needed partnership in that. We were willing to pay for half of it. We were asking for at least $500,000 to get us to the 1.25, and they just were not interested. And actually, we had a process, if you recall, I believe years ago, when the deputy mayor was the chair of the Parks and Public Works Committee when I was a member, in which there was this sort of grand vision and plan that was close to about a $10 million approach. The problem is that the folks at the Lakota were really hung up on that vision, and as opposed to looking at a bird in hand, which was the city of Federal Way, literally with, well, not literally, but pretty figuratively, with $700,000 in hand, ready to go, and they turned us away. So we had that money set aside, and then we had other needs. And so instead of putting the Carl Grosch Field on some, we had the emergent need of Carl Grosch Field, which cost $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000? $500,000 to replace that failing field. That's where some of that money went, and so life intercedes. And we had $700,000. We were ready to go. We had a big community meeting in which many students and families from Lakota were downstairs for a committee meeting, and we were ready to go. So I think we'll continue to dialogue with them. I think something needs to happen at that location, but it's likely not going to be the $10 million super program at that location.
Well, they need to partner with us because their students use it for PE.
They do.
We don't have a track program.
Right.
They do.
Right.
And it absolutely has to be, I think it has to be 50-50. I don't
Right.
want 70-30, I want 50-50.
Well, I think we gotta get more strict than that.
Yeah.
I mean, we either block it off so they can't use it until they start coming up and paying for the use of it and the wear and tear, because they're the ones that are really tearing it apart.
That's right.
Not the everyday citizens or people that wanna go walk through the park or something.
That's right. Now, we've invested significant resources in regard to the drainage of those fields and some other things. But Councilmember Duclos, you had your,
Yeah, I had a question for John. John, when we rent these fields out, and we're charging for the cost that it cost us, do we also add a little extra in there for to help build up replacement costs?
We do not currently. We charge a flat fee.
We should really look at that, because if people are they're renting it, they're having fun on it, they're using it and everything, but they're also putting wear and tear on those fields, and so we ought to start building in replacement costs. That way, it won't happen overnight, but in 5 or 10 years, we might have a healthy replacement reserve for things and ease up on the regular budget. So just think about that.
Great idea.
Think about it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Councilmember Honda.
We talked about that last year when the Carl Gorsch field came up, that we needed to start putting money aside for replacing these fields.
We have started replacement reserves on our turf fields, for sure. If I understood Councilmember Duclos, she's saying every time somebody rents any field, take a small piece and put it towards reserves, which would also be helpful. But we do have a reserve account set aside.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, everything. When it's
Yeah.
rented,
Right.
a reserve
Great.
fund in there is built in.
I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you so much. John, great, amazing work that your department has done. I know that I've had many conversations with a lot of the folks that I'm looking at, and I know that you and I have had many conversations throughout the year, and even recalled your memory of me working, I forget who the parks director was at the time, but as a temp employee within your department. So it's a very important department, and so I wanted to, clearly the Dumas Space Center, especially with the food kitchen area, is doing very well, and it's gaining momentum every single year in terms of funds that are coming in. And I know that last budget cycle we talked about, if I recall correctly, we talked about what is the chef's needs and wants, and I'm just kind of curious if he was involved in this budget, and secondly, I mean, if he's doing a great work, we want to reward that work and continue to update the kitchen, because I'm quite certain that kitchen is quite old, but I'm sure there's some things that need to be upgraded. So I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Absolutely. We work directly with Chef Scott on asking what is it that he would need. He's got a couple things. I didn't put them on your list here tonight, but there's a couple things, and I'm not a kitchen expert. I know how to eat, but that's where it stops. But he's got a tilt skillet, which I guess makes preparing large-scale meals much easier with a tilt skillet. And if it goes any deeper than that, I'm going to call Rob up here to explain past what a tilt skillet does for a chef's abilities to produce. But he had a tilt skillet, and what else was there, Rob? And a new special oven. We have a working oven, it works fine, but a better oven he could do faster work with. So those are on our list, but we're looking for ways to potentially fund that. And I didn't put them on your list this evening.
Again, my comment about tacking on that little extra would start the funds for all of these different projects. I really, really think that staff and all of us need to look at that as we're doing this budget. Come up with some, we need to come up with some guidelines and philosophies, but I think it would really help us in the very long run.
Thank you. I love that idea.
All right. Councilmember Moore.
Yeah, but certainly I would support what my colleague, Councilmember Duclos, is saying with that. And also, of course, you know, I have to comment on this and say thank you. And you know where I'm going towards, perhaps, but our youth and our community center. I've always thought that, you know, our community center can really play a powerful role within our youth, and I appreciate the reach out that you're doing in terms of surveys. I'd like to see the results. I'd like to see what the feedback is like for myself, just so I can be a little bit more educated on what is important to our youth. Secondly, I have to say that I know that you and I have had tough conversations about late night sessions, something that I learned through AmeriCorps, and I don't want to go into details of that because I know my colleagues have heard about that. But I think it's really important to me, and I hope it's important to my colleagues and others to see such a program being implemented into the community center, because I think, again, what better way to say come to the community center to stay safe at night and do what you'd like to do. So I think that's a great idea, and I'm glad to see that as part of the budget. So.
Okay. Council, anything else? All right, that's great. Good job, John. Thank you very much to your team. Thank you very much for all the work you do every day. Okay, City Attorney's Office. We've got Ryan Call.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. My presentation is brief. After all of that wonderful content, mine is going to be short, but and I'm sure that's welcome at this late hour. So currently, as you know, the city attorney position is vacant. So here's an org chart as we currently exist. We have 12.5 full-time employees authorized. 1 is vacant, that's the city attorney. Technically 2 are vacant right now, but we have a new DV prosecutor that's going to be starting, I believe on the 10th of October. She's already hired, and we're really excited to see her coming. Mark Orthman and myself are acting currently as the acting city attorneys. We have a lead paralegal for the civil department. We also have a paralegal for the criminal prosecution department, who we recently just poached from the court. So I'm sure they're struggling to find a replacement for her. She's a good catch. In the Civil Legal Services Department, we have 2 assistant city attorneys, that's Mark and I, and 1 extra legal assistant. The Criminal Prosecution Division has 4 attorneys, 1 chief, 2 city prosecutors that handle everything, and then a DV prosecutor supported by a DV advocate. Risk is broken out here as a separate thing. There is no additional personnel for that. That's run mostly by Tanya Proctor, the paralegal. She does a lot of that in conjunction with our brokers and also in conjunction with the civil attorneys. Some highlights from 2015 and expected in 2016. Of course, we are involved with all of the major projects that are going on in the city. I think we listed them out just so people remember that we're involved with all that stuff. Some things you might not be aware of, we are pretty much continuously negotiating franchise agreements. We had 9 new agreements this year, 1 extension of an agreement. We are working on wireless site leases, that's the cell sites. We did 3 renewals and 1 new this year. We are currently working on 3 others. Mark and I reviewed 500 contracts in 2015, and right now it's 270 to date. I'm not sure where the disparity is. We are reactionary in that regard. We take what isn't put in front of us and review it. We have labor agreements currently under negotiation. We finalized 2. We have 3 that are expiring this year that we need to sort out. That's the Guild, the Teamsters, and PSSA, which is the support organization for the police department. The Public Records Act is becoming an increased, I don't want to say drain, but focus on all of the departments of the city, but especially for the legal department. We continue to provide training and PR support for anyone that has a public records question in the city. We had 14 civil litigation cases that were closed out in 15 and 16. I would consider all of those successes. We did settle a few because it was advantageous to the city. It was much cheaper to settle them instead of litigating them, and usually it was for de minimis amounts. And then the ones that we did litigate, we won. The prosecutors have been working with the court's new electronic court system, which is called Dawn. That's been a large event for them, and I think we're starting to come to grips with it, and they are firmly entrenched in that new program system. They are always busy. With those 4 prosecutors, they handle about 4,000 criminal cases a year. Basically, any misdemeanor that's filed in Federal Way has to go through these 4 prosecutors. Those include, of course, DUI, DV assault. We heard from the court today that 50% or so are minor petty crimes, theft, and trespass, but that's not including the very serious crimes of DUI and DV assault. Misdemeanor DV assault is probably one of the most important crimes to pursue aggressively at the misdemeanor level, because it often escalates to murder, extremely serious crimes. And of course, we all understand the risks of DUI. Basically, Tanya Proctor, who's our lead paralegal, is responsible for recovering $113,000 and or $113,755 for damaged property. She's very tenacious about going after people who have damaged city property and trying to recoup our costs. Some anticipated projects we have, of course, continuing with the major projects of the city, and we need to finish those 3 labor agreements. I have 2, basically there's not a lot of numbers in this quote business budget discussion. I understand that. We are not asking for any increase in personnel or any real increase in budgets with the exception of 2 things, which I've broken out here. They're both risk related. So the first is an increase for budgeting for insurance premiums to cover the PAC as it comes online, and the Town Square Park infrastructure, the pump station and the bathroom building at the Town Square Park has some money in it, and it's worth insuring. So we're asking to insure those 2 items. These are both approved in the recommended budget. The other one is, it seems like a large number, and I mean, it is a large number, but it's basically setting aside monies from the general fund so that we, at any given time, have enough money to pay the insurance and deductibles for 2 major incidents. So right now, and we are going to have to negotiate a new insurance agreement at some point, but right now our deductible is $250,000. So up to that amount, we are on the hook. So this would cover 2 major lawsuits or major liability scenarios. So the idea there, it's a one-time movement of money, and then if we ever need to use it, we would ask for money in the future to replenish that account. Are there any questions?
Council? Councilmember
Me
Honda.
again.
Yeah.
So are you saying that at Town Square Park, the properties, the equipment you want to insure is not insured at this point?
Well, it's basically, there is insurance that covers things as they're being built. And then it's kind of like when you are buying a new car, you know, your old insurance kind of covers your new car till you get new insurance. So we are covered for a certain period of time, but as it comes online, we will need to make it part of our new premium. So currently we are covered.
Okay,
If that's, I know that's your question.
that's my
But
question.
it will not stay covered if we don't add it as an official part of our plan.
So with the splash park and the public art in the middle of the splash park, is that part of what you want to insure?
It's the building, the pump infrastructure, which is worth quite a bit of money. I think $100,000. The art is beautiful. It's also fairly resilient and not very valuable, so it is not insured.
Okay,
And I should say, I see her smiling at me. I should say, it
That's
didn't
okay.
cost us that much.
all right.
And we purposely got this stainless steel type art so that we can repair it if
Right.
it ever comes. I think it would take a vehicle hitting it to really, really hurt it.
Better than
Well-
the basalt rock.
Yes, because I didn't want that, 'cause I know that breaks. Well, what about if a child were to get injured running around the splash park because it's wet?
That's a different scenario. So
That's-
that's
okay.
risk, as in, that's just tort liability.
Okay,
That's
But
not
there's
related to this insurance.
But there's a shield, isn't there, because we don't pay, we don't.
Yeah, I
charge.
mean, I don't, without getting into a long legal discussion, but we have what's called recreational immunity. So for those events that we do not charge money for, there's a pretty good legal shield that protects the city from tort liability in those scenarios.
okay, thank you.
I actually found out about that last summer when a couple of kids were swinging off branches on one of the trees in my park. And I was concerned because the branch was going up and down, and so I contacted here, and I was told we have recreational liability. I said, okay, fine, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Burbidge?
Thank you. It also had been a question when we built the skate park,
Correct.
understandably.
We also, actually, having gotten to watch the pouring of the splash park, they actually have a little bit of a raise to it, and it's a little bit rough, so people don't, it's not actually too smooth. So it's actually a little bit, the cement's just a little bit rough, so you don't have that slipping effect, because children are supposed to run on it. So just FYI, just a little trivia.
Well, what about old people?
Yeah, that's the other question. When do we get a night at the park?
Exactly, all right.
Safety was a key concern in the building of that park and the design of it. So
Yeah.
a lot of discussion went into, we knew kids are going to be running around
Yeah.
on a wet surface. So, but I think it's unavoidable that some are going to fall. I mean, that's just the nature of kids playing in the water, so.
All right. Council, any other questions on that? All right.
Thank you.
Great job, Ryan. Thank you. Yeah, you and Mark are doing a great job. Thank you very much. All right. I'm to the understanding that we have one handwritten letter from Dave Berger to read at citizen comment, and I think we've got another pink sheet. Actually, we've got Ms. Nelson on the way here. Should we? Let's hear from Ms. Nelson first. All right.
Thanks for staying the whole time.
Yes. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay, good evening. I looked for the budget online, I couldn't find it, so I didn't have the opportunity to read it beforehand. But when I listened to the Community Development Director, I was not sure how many code compliance officers we have. I'm under the impression that we've lost several. They are very important to keeping Federal Way good, clean, a livable place. So I'd like to ask, how many will you have next year, and how does this compare to the number that you had previously? Another thing I'd like to ask you is this, that I used to be on the Parks Commission, and I actually speak to some of the Parks employees, and I've seen that they're pretty sincere, hard workers who actually care about the parks, which is good. And you only have got one additional maintenance worker listed on the budget. But you've added a tremendously large park. And I'm not sure that they weren't pretty thin on the ground before Town Center was put down. So I'd like to encourage you to look at the budget and maybe even put in 2 new maintenance workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret. Actually, Scott, in regard to our code compliance officers, we had budgeted, correct me if I'm wrong, we had budgeted 3,
We still do?
and we've hired 2, and we're in the process of hiring a 3rd.
Correct,
So for next year, we will have 3.
correct.
Okay,
We'll get that fully staffed.
that's right. Okay, and then our deputy mayor was going to make a comment.
I have a question, actually, as a result of Margaret's comments in particular. We have in the past cross-trained public works and parks employees. Are we still doing that to any extent?
We definitely work together on many events. As a matter of fact, Public Work helped Park in the construction of Town Square. They help us in the snow and ice fighting. So we do work together. Just a matter, I believe, that each division or each department have their own maintenance tasks that they need to take care of. On a special project, we definitely are able to secure some exchange of staff between the 2 divisions.
Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Nelson, thank you very much for your comments on that. I think we're all in agreement that our parks workers do a lot. A lot's been asked of them, and we'll do everything we can to get those to get them some more help. Thank you. Okay, then we've got the letter from Mr. Berger.
This letter is from Dave Berger and reads, I'm the vice chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, but unfortunately had to leave prior to this evening's public comment period. City Council's charge to the Commission includes advice to Council regarding policy matters related to significant operational impacts on our city's community and neighborhood parks. Speaking as an individual commissioner, I become increasingly concerned about the ongoing adverse impacts of Parks Department budget cuts since the Great Recession. Specifically, the department's loss of 3 full-time parks maintenance positions, about a 30% reduction and about a 60% cut in contract services funding. As a result, the Commission has observed a reduction of the frequency of routine maintenance of city parks and less ability of parks maintenance staff to deal with unwanted and non-routine problems such as tree clearing, weed abatement, etc. We understand that 1 maintenance position has been added back to the budget in response to the need to maintain newly added Town Square Park. However, the cumulative impact of the remaining ongoing resource reductions will only grow deferred maintenance needs and aesthetic impacts on our park system over time. Department management has done a remarkable job of dealing with reduced resources and a larger workload, but cannot overcome this need without added resources.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Berger. Council, any other comments or questions? Councilmember Moore.
Yeah, just, most of the staff has left, rightfully so, but just, I really want to say how blessed and lucky we are to have such an amazing staff. I sincerely appreciate all the departments putting together these PowerPoints, and I appreciate a day putting together this Bible that we call the 2017-18 proposed budget. And just, I appreciate the enthusiasm, the passion that each director has, and I appreciate the fact that they're hearing our ideas that really come from the public. So I appreciate this whole process, and just felt like wanted to have the opportunity to thank everybody.
All right. Thank you. I think that is well said, and we need to really thank and appreciate our staff who work so hard for all of us. All right. With that, we are adjourned.